Hey, this channel is Whole Health with Truly Writer. Again, my writing pen name and media name is Truly Jacob a Writer, so you probably won't see my face. However, today I'm going to give an overview of the English Standard Version. And, here is just one look of this book or whatever. So let's begin. So they give you a table of contents. You can read it in order if you want. Then it's listed in alphabetical order. So if you ever want to read in alphabetical order, you could do that as well. And the preface, let's read what it says, because this is important to understand why this translation came out. So the Bible is God's personal word to us. In the Bible, God tells us how he made the world and why we are here. He tells us of his eternal son, Jesus Christ, died on the cross for our sins and was raised from the dead, and that because of this, we can live forever in heaven with him. Because God is always good and truthful, his written word. The Bible is worthy of our complete confidence and trust. God's message to us was recorded in the Bible between 3,500 years ago. The Bible was not originally written in English, but in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. Since most of us today do not know these languages, God has enabled people around the world to translate his written word into thousands of different languages. In 1526, William Tyndale became the first person to translate the New Testament from the original Greek into English. The most famous English translation of the Bible, the King James Version, was published in England in 1611. For many years, it was the Bible that most English-speaking people read. Millions of people still read it today. But as time has passed, the English language has changed. Various words and phrases in the King James Version have become harder to understand. So through the years, several new translations have been made. These include the English Revised Version 1885, the American Standard Version 1901, and the Revised Standard Version 1952 and 1971. The English Standard Version Bible is a part of this historic tradition of Bible translation. Translating from one language to another is never easy. Bible translators must know Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. They need good English writing skills. They must be able to choose words that people of all ages will understand. They must be humble enough to let other translators correct their work. No one is able to do this work perfectly. Translators can only try the best to be faithful to God's word and helpful to readers. There are two main ways most of them do this. Some Bible translators use a thought-for-thought method of translation. They read the Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek and decide how to put the basic thoughts into English words. They are generally not concerned with keeping the original order of the sentence. They also may leave out words they don't think are needed for understanding a thought. Sometimes they try to make long sentences easier to understand by dividing them into several shorter sentences. Other translators use a word-for-word translation method. They translate the Bible in a way that reflects every single word in the original Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek text as transparency as possible. They also translate sentences in a way that pays greater attention to the order in which they were originally written. Until recent times, this was the way most English Bible translations were done. The English Standard Version is this kind of translation, a word-for-word translation, which we believe is the best way to show what the Bible says and how it says it. Sometimes this may mean you will read words that you'll see only in the Bible or here in church, words like justification and sanctification, or you will read words that mean something different in the Bible than the current English. Sorry, I have to flip the page. The word unclean is an example of this, although such words may be unfamiliar. They are important words that are worth learning. Bible translators also want readers to know and love the Bible as much as they do. So while trying to be accurate as possible in the work, they also try to use English words that are interesting and beautiful as the Bible's original Hebrew, Aramaic, and the Greek words. There are a couple of words in particular that you should know about as a Bible reader. You will often find the Old and New Testament authors using the word behold. This is helpful because it means something like pay attention to the words that come next. It helps us read more carefully. Another word you should know about is the Bible names of God. The Old Testament authors use 3 different Hebrew roots to describe God. These are translated as God, Lord spelled as we should spell it, or Lord spelled in small capital letters. The one last translates God's personal name. He referred this name to Moses in Exodus 3:14, probably the I am. Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of it, but it's like, okay, the purposes of the English Standard Version. Many people made the English Standard Version Bible translation possible. We hope this Bible will help you know God by trusting in Christ through the power of the Holy Spirit. Our prayer is the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. So 2 Corinthians 13:14. So, okay, so that is the reason why this version came to be about. So I thought that was important to read and go over. So one of the things that, as I read through this whole Bible, I think it was somewhere in Numbers, but in Numbers, there was like a section where it mentioned like little people or dwarfs, and I never saw that before, and any of the Bible translations that I've read in the past, so that stood out to me. You also have a concordance. It's a very small concordance where it's like, here are a bunch of different, what's it called? I'm sorry. References. But again, it's like, it's not very thorough. So they gave you the ones where they thought were most important. So, and then the abbreviations of, the Old Testament and the New Testament books. So that way it's like, oh, you know if there's something there. So, and then they give you the weights and measurements, which doesn't make any sense to me. So, we are going to go over one verse, Psalm 41, and I will talk about that, hopefully briefly, so it won't take up all your time. So, verse 41, we'll just read 1 through 3. Blessed is the one who considers the poor in the day of trouble. The Lord delivers him. The Lord protects him and keeps him alive. He is called blessed in the land. You do not give him up to the will of his enemies. Lord sustains him on his sick bed, and in his sickness you restore him to full health. Okay, so again, when I go over different translations or different versions of the Bible, certain things stick up to me. And part of the problem I've been having is there are Christians that are like, okay, we're going to go through persecution, trials, tribulation. And I'm like, well, this promise has not been fulfilled where you get full health restored to you. And everyone's like, no, God healed you. I'm sorry, I have an ugly face. I don't even have fair beauty. So here's an example of, can you see that scar? I stepped on glass in a trash can as a 3-year-old child, and that scar has never healed. And I have this scar right here where I hit this screen door, and I thought there was thick glass in the screen, and all of a sudden the glass shattered in the screen. It was like a very thin piece of glass in the screen door, and it just all of a sudden shattered. That happened when I was a child, and that scar never healed. So a part of me is like, okay, how come I did not get full health? How come my scars have never healed? Like, this is what this Bible promises, that even on your sick bed, like, the Lord sustains you, and an illness will restore him or her to full health. Well, I never got restored to my full health, and then I've taken anatomy and physiology classes, and one of the classes, my science teacher was like, it takes 6 months for every cell in your body, for your skin cells to fully replenish themselves and for you to be healed. Well, then how come those scars haven't gone away? So I'm sorry. There's something wrong with the Christian religion. There's something wrong with this Bible, because it's not working for me. The principles in this Bible are not working for me because my skin cells never fully healed. So, you can't, if you claim these promises and they never come to pass, eventually a light bulb or some kind of thinking light bulb goes off in your brain and like, hello, red alert, red alert, red alert, something's wrong, because these principles you weren't able to apply to your own life and claim these promises, and they didn't actually work. So I'm not exactly sure what's wrong with the whole Christian religion, but this has nothing to do about going through the last days in order to be fully healed. Because it's like, the Lord sustains him on his sickbed, and in his illness you restore him to full health. It says nothing about being sick your whole entire life, and then only in the last days are you gonna be able to be fully healed, like physically. So, like, be careful what you say. Make sure you have scripture to back up every single point or belief that you have, because if you don't, someone who actually reads and studies the Bible for themselves and tries to comprehend what these words actually mean, they're going to be like, well, if this didn't actually work for them, I'm sorry, you can't just tell them to blindly believe in Jesus and be like, okay, I'm going to believe in Jesus forever to save me from my sins. If Jesus never restores that individual to full health, I'm sorry, how are they going to just be able to believe in Jesus and continue on? They need evidence. They need proof. They need a personal relationship with Jesus. And if they don't get that, they're not going to be able to believe in Jesus forever and ever and ever when there's no proof. So I did my best to believe for the longest amount of time, but my cells never fully healed. I have scars on my face from having acne or pimples or breakouts, and they never healed. So my looks diminished. I looked better as a child. Then becoming a teenager, my looks grew worse. So I don't know what happened. But scars never healed. And then as a teenager, I got severe muscle tension all down my spine. And it's like that muscle tension never went away. And getting chiropractic adjustments and getting massages, deep tissue things, it never made the pain fully go away. Not even stretching ever made the muscle tension pain ever fully go away. So I have never experienced this, okay, you're sick for a time and then, in your illness, you're restored to full health, and then you go through a period of time where you're like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. My body feels wonderful, and you're still doing that thing of trying to be the best person, making sure you don't sin, living a moral life to the best of your ability, keeping the 10 Commandments to the best of your ability. because I strive to do that, especially as a teenager when I started reading the Bible for myself. I was like, let me try to instill these good moral principles into my life, every single fiber of my being. That was my goal, and to have that personal relationship with Jesus Christ. But it's like, well, the more I tried to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, the more trials and tribulation and persecution, the more hardships I went through, and it seemed like the more I was misunderstood. Like no one understood what I was trying to say, and it's just like you get to a point where you hit your max. And it's like, well, Lord Jesus, if you don't make the persecution, the trials, and the tribulation end and give me a break, like, I'm not going to be able to continue to believe in you. And so you lose your faith completely. And like, again, there is that verse that says God gives everyone a measure of faith. So who do I believe in? I believe there is someone or a bunch of someones. I do not think I have any of their real names, but they designed me in my real mother's womb with the help of my father, and mother. And they designed me, but I don't know who their real names are. But if crying out to Jesus and Elohim or Jehovah, Yeshua, or Yehoshua, if that didn't work, then that must not be any of their real names, is the conclusion I came to. So I'm not against believing in someone that designed me and formed me in my real mother's womb and created me and made me and, gave me certain personality and characteristics. I'm not against that, but I need hardcore evidence and proof, their real names, who they are, and this religion, the Bible, did not prove to me that this is correct, that this is the truth 100%, because none of the principles worked for me. Like, you can't have scars that never healed in full. If you have a Bible verse that says, in your sickness, you restore him to full health, him or her. Okay? It just doesn't work like that. If you cut yourself, you need those cells to heal in full. And sometimes I accidentally cut myself with a knife and there wasn't a scar left behind. So how come sometimes you can cut yourself, it doesn't leave a scar, then other times it does? That doesn't make any logical sense. You can't have it. Oh, sometimes it will heal all your scars. Your whole scar will be healed. And other times, no, because I got even paper cuts and those seem to fully heal because I didn't see a scar afterwards. So, and then, some of my burn scars, it took forever for the burn scars to go away. So it's like, I don't know what's going on, but science does not back up a lot of the principles in this Bible. I never healed in full. My spine, my muscles and near my spine never have healed in full. So today I feel like it's a little bit okay right now that it's like I don't feel full muscle tension by my spine, but it's like, ooh, there's nights where all of a sudden it's like, oh, your spine's definitely acting up. You feel way more muscle tension and you just want it to go away. And then it's like you stretch and you keep stretching and it's like the stretching alleviates it a tiny little bit and then you have to keep stretching more. And it's like, well, the muscle tension really doesn't go away. And I'm constantly having to, move my spine or twist and turn to be like, okay, can you spine straighten out? Because I've gone to chiropractors and they never fully corrected the spinal issues. It's like, realistically, I feel like I need a spinal adjustment from a chiropractor every single day. But, the healthcare system doesn't cover chiropractic care under their health care. And then it's like, okay, well, you do the best you can. And then massage wasn't covered under, the healthcare professional stuff. And so it was like, even getting, like, you feel like you need a massage and a chiropractic adjustment pretty much every day. Like, that's like just to maintain your own physical health, where you're constantly having muscle tension somewhere in your body. Like, that's like a full-time job if you need a massage and chiropractic adjustments every day or multiple times a day just so your spine can stay straight. But do you get paid for that? For having a sickness in society? No. So, and then it's like, if I was supposed to be put on disabilities, the government was like, well, if it's found out that you are telling a falsehood or you are a liar, then you owe the government all this money. So I felt like I couldn't get on disabilities. So it's like, okay, the government doesn't care about your health. Religious people don't care about your health. Who cares about your health? I guess I'm the only one that cares about true health and being able to become healed in full, because everyone's like, well, it's part of life. You're going to go through sin and suffering and persecution and trials and tribulation. It's just how it is. You just got to accept it. That's how society is. You just got to accept it. No one knows how to really help anybody, so you just got to accept it. So, well, you can't have these high expectations of someone if you're not going to teach them real health and a real language where the letters have the proper sound of the alphabet and you have the proper words lined up with the proper definitions. Like, maybe that's part of the reason why no one's able to fully get well, because we have a cursed language or accent. And so you have to heal the language. It might be the root issue of the problem. And that's why no one's able to get fully healed, because you need to talk properly. Because that's what the principles that are in this Bible is. You have to speak blessings over yourself, not curses. Well, the letter C, sounds like a C or a K sound. Shouldn't have its own sound and not sound like an S or a K, So it's like, what are the proper sounds of the letters of the English language or accent, whatever it's really called? I do not know. But society seems very content for things getting worse and worse and worse and not getting better and better and better. So I want more positivity. I would like to learn properly, but everyone's like, no, it's fine the way it is. It's fine the way it is. We're going to go through the last days. The second coming of Christ is going to come. And I'm just like, if you really believe that Jesus is the Lord and God the Father is really a boy and girl, because, that's what it said in the beginning, like God made man to be female and male, to be like God, the likeness of God in some way, then it's like, okay, what does that really mean? So, it's like, well, a male and female. They call a girl female. They call a woman a girl. But man is in that word. Male is in the word female. And a man or a male was referred to as a boy. So don't you think gender names should like be able to stand alone? Don't you think gender words like her and she shouldn't have he in it at all? And a girl should have their own proper pronouns that don't have like any of the pronouns for he in them at all. So I don't know. So right now I feel like I have a hard time speaking properly because literally all I have is a girl to refer myself as. I don't want to say her or she when I'm thinking about myself or thinking about someone else that looks like a girl or is a girl. But, again, maybe that's part of the problem with this Bible. And again, you have everyone coming from the Lord. Who is the Lord? It doesn't describe who the Lord or God was in the beginning, and God formed Adam, and then God formed Eve out of Adam's rib. It doesn't say the genetics completely changed. And so you have this idea now going through my head, like originally for years, I thought when Eve was formed, it's like, okay, you got completely different genetics. And then Adam, that made you a completely different person, even though you were formed out of Adam's rib. But it doesn't say that in any of the versions of the Bible that I've read yet. And so now there's this idea of, okay, well, Adam was the boy, and then Eve was just probably looked exactly like Adam, but looked like a girl. And it's like, well, if you have twins, it'd be like basically a twin boy and a twin girl married each other in holy matrimony, had sexual intercourse, and they had kids. Then their kids had sexual intercourse with each other, and you go all the way to the end until the last days. Well, that sounds completely disgusting to me. And everyone's insisting that this is the true religion, and I'm sorry, there's like something going off in my brain of like, that's disgusting, that's incest, that goes on forever and ever and ever. Who wants to live in that kind of sinful world, And so a part of me is like, well, why would I believe in this religion? Because that's disgusting that you have that close of genetics that go all the way to Adam and Eve. Like, I would want my parents to have completely, distinctly two different genetics that it's like, there is no genetic relation whatsoever. And people are like, no, it's fine. This is the true religion. That's disgusting. So, I don't want to believe that I came from Adam and Eve because there was only two in the beginning. That's gross. That's disgusting. That's incest. And no wonder there's sexual perversion everywhere because everyone believes that this is the true religion. This is a disgusting religion. And people are like, no, it's fine. Have you read it? Have you read any of the different versions of the Bible in full? Or are you just quoting from random different sections and you're like, he delivers and rescues, he works in signs and wonders in heaven and the earth, he who saved Daniel from the power of the lions. And you're just quoting from whatever, makes more logical sense and claiming that verse only. I'm sorry, you may be taking that verse completely out of context if you have never read the whole Bible in full. So is there another religion that has more truth where it's like, okay, originally there were 1,000 couples or 5,000 couples in the beginning. And, then God or the Lord or whoever formed everyone or designed everybody in their real mother's womb. It's like you have a designated spouse and no one's ever genetically related to someone at all who they marry and make husband and wife. Okay? So that is just a question that I have. So again, maybe that's one of the reasons why this Bible is a false religion, because people think it's okay to marry their cousin or their sister or their brother. And this Bible is against that 100%. It's like, don't have sex with your father's wife or your aunt or your sister. And right in the beginning of Genesis, it's like Adam knew Eve, which implies sexual intercourse. And they had Abel and Cain, or Cain and Abel, and then Seth. And then their sons and daughters married each other. Like, disgusting. But hey, if this is the true religion, according to the people all over the world, if this is the religion you want to believe in, good for you. I reject it because I am not willing to be genetically related to my future spouse. If I have one at all, I'd rather be single for all of eternity, because that's disgusting to be genetically related to your future spouse. That's disgusting. It's probably the root issue why everyone looks ugly on some level and why we can't get fully healed, because everyone believes this shit as far as doctrines are concerned. But hey, if you want to believe this is the truth, go ahead and believe it. I'm not going to join you any longer. But that's what I was taught, to believe all these doctrinal lies or falsehoods as the truth and be like, oh, it's going to be so cool to get to know your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma Eve and your great-great-great-grandpa Adam. You're all related to Adam and Eve. I was looking for heaven and was like, oh, it's going to be so cool to be genetically related to Adam and Eve somehow. And now I think it's disgusting. So I think my eyes or my brain have opened up. And it's like, no, what were you thinking, child? Get rid of these child evil doctrines. They're disgusting. Get rid of it. So I'm getting rid of it. And if people want to believe that this is the truth, that is their choice. We live in the United States of America. Or at least I do. Maybe other countries believe this. That is their freedom and their choice to believe that everyone came from Adam and Eve only. If that's what they want to believe, then let them believe it. But I'm not going to join them. And I live in the United States of America, where you have the freedom, religious freedom, to disagree, to not just blindly follow and believe what everyone tells you to believe is the truth. So I'm going to take this freedom and be like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to believe Adam and Eve are my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents anymore. Because literally, it just seems like they could be brother and sister on some level genetically, and that's disgusting to me. And again, you do not have the details of the Bible to prove to you one way or the other if when the Lord made Eve, that Eve had 100% completely different genetics than Adam, because it says that, Eve was created out of Adam's rib. So I'm sorry. Like, if it says Eve was created out of Adam's rib, what does that really imply? I'm sorry you had the same genetics as Adam. You just looked like a girl. I can't wrap my head around that anymore. I do not want to believe that I came from Adam and Eve anymore. But if everyone else is insistent upon it, have fun with your gross religion. I'm not joining you anymore. And we live in the United States of America, at least I do, so I have the religious freedom to reject this shitty religion. If you would like to continue to believe it, that you all came from Adam and Eve, and you're all okay having sex with someone that could be sort of your genetic cousin or blood relative on some level, go for it. I'm not joining you. That's disgusting. But if you want to be that morally disgusting, I guess that's your freedom of choice. So, hey, if you are a lesbian, do you really want to be a lesbian? That's girls having sex with girls. If you are gay, that means boys having sex with boys. Maybe this religion really supports that. So you could all freely claim to be Christian because all the Bibles back it up. I mean, hey, what is a woman? It's a man who changes their gender into a girl. However, that's not how it was taught to me in school. They just said a girl is a woman. A girl is female. But really, that's what it is, right? A boy changes their gender and becomes a girl. And they make themselves look like a girl. So how long has the transgender stuff been going on? So if you really believe in this religion, maybe everyone is transgender. But I was born a girl. So I'm a girl only. And I do not want to be a boy ever. Or part boy. Or go back and forth between both genders. That's disgusting to me. However, if that's your true heart's desire to believe in this religion and go back and forth to being a boy only and then a girl and whatever, I live in the United States of America, and if somehow you have the ability to go back and forth between being a boy and then a girl and then a boy and then a girl and a boy and a girl, hey, if that's your true heart's desire because you believe in this religion, good for you. But to me, that seems gross. Maybe it's not gross and disgusting to you, but it's gross and disgusting to me. So I don't know what's going on with this religion 100%, but seems like a really perverted religion if everyone's okay with originally Adam and Eve having sex with each other and being genetically related to each other somehow, and then their children being genetically related to each other, and then having sex, and then having kids, and it going on and on there through multiple generations. Like, really gross and disgusting. But hey, if you don't believe that's gross and disgusting to you, then that's your choice. And again, like, I was raised on the United States of America, where it's like before you get married, you're supposed to have a genetics DNA test. Why do you need the genetics DNA test for? Are you trying to figure out if you can procreate and your babies don't come out looking warped or something? What is the truth of how society really works? Are you pretending to be married and you're not really married at all and you just have clones as your kids? Like, what's going on? But no one has told me the real truth, because they're like, this is how it all started, and this is how everyone was formed. And I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing that I came from a mother who was genetically related to her husband. That's like disgusting. It feels so wrong. But hey, if that's what you believe and you're embracing this religion as the truth, go for it. But I can't embrace this religion as the truth any longer. There may be some truthful principles in here, like the one we went over with Psalm 41, 1 through 3, where it's like you're supposed to be able to be healed in full. In different ways, whether you get sick, because technically, cutting yourself, that's a form of getting sick. So your cells should be able to come back together and be healed in full, so you no longer see a scar anymore. But that never happened. So maybe it's because of all the sexual immorality that is in these Bibles, of why no one can fully become healed and why this religion doesn't heal anyone. It just makes you sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. So, if you don't like this video, that's fine. But again, we live in a world where you have the freedom to believe what you want is the truth. Until I see more details of the Bible that are left out, I'm sorry, I just can't believe these broad and vague Bibles. Because could there be another Bible somewhere that talks about how the Lord originally created 1,000 or 5,000 couples and they're not related to each other at all? And then they married someone as husband and wife, and originally they're all like half of them are boys and half of them are girls. And then, it goes from one generation to the other where, they had a certain amount of kids and the next generation had a certain amount of kids. And you have a designated spouse, boy and girl, that belong to each other or only. I mean, like, if there's a Bible somewhere that's like, okay, maybe someone was drunk when they wrote this, and they were like, okay, the Lord formed Eve out of Adam, like, maybe someone was drunk, or there was something to do with, okay, maybe they made something that looked like a rib, and one represented or looked in appearance like, this is like your rib, Eve, and this is your rib, Adam. And when they got married, they supernaturally combined the ribs to represent them becoming husband and wife, but they had completely different genetics. Like, if someone was like, oh, let's take out a whole bunch of, details of the story, and it got translated wrong, then I could be like, okay. I would like have an easier time understanding, like, okay, this isn't perverted anymore. And then, and it's like, well, this is just more the story of Adam and Eve and the genetics that started at the beginning with Adam and Eve coming together, two separate individuals, 100%, where like there were other individuals that were created too, but this just goes over the story of Adam and Eve, but they truly married someone else that had 100% different genetics all the time, all the way through. So like if there's some kind of story where there's more details put in and that fixes it, it's like, well, I'd have an easier time believing that story. But, and then it's like, well, this just follows Adam and Eve and who had who. But again, you need more details. There could be wrong definitions of words in here. Because they talk about someone having a concubine. What if there's a concube somehow where it's like you're trying to gamble? Someone's not going to marry a conning device. But like that's what people said a concubine was, is another man's wife. And it's like, are we defining the words properly? And I don't even know where I got that idea, but could there be a concube that exists somewhere that helps you gamble? And what's the point of gambling is probably getting out of work or having someone do some kind of work for you. I don't know, that's what came into mind. But it's like, are we defining all the words properly? Because if you're not defining words properly, that's why we're all under a curse. Even more than how it should be. Anyways, again, I live in a world where I was taught you have the freedom to believe what you want to believe. Well, I do have a bunch of other Bibles to read. Right now, all the Bibles that I have are similar, where they go over Adam and Eve's story. And so far, nothing's drastically different because they are written in a broad and vague way where it seems like there's a lot of missing details. And people have told me the details don't matter. But if your Bibles are done in a broad and vague way where they don't tell the details of the true details of how Adam and Eve were supposed to come together, and they're not genetically related to each other at all, if you're missing those details, and when it describes their sons and daughters getting married, it doesn't tell you like, oh, they married someone from, the offspring of so-and-so, and they were the original start of like a different couple created not to be genetically related to each other at all. Their kids, like it kind of gives you a lot of bad immoral ideas of how sex works. And so it's like, I'm sorry, but the details matter. So I hope something happens where Bibles eventually change, or there's more detailed Bibles that I'm able to come across eventually, where it's like, okay, here's the details of, you have these many Bibles. This one goes over this couple's story and their offspring down to the last days. And there could be 1,000, or more, and it tells how many kids they had, the more specific details, and stories that actually make sense. So I hope society changes where it's like, hey, let's bring out the Bibles that could have, 10 volumes in the Bible. It's like, I'm sorry, it's not just one anymore, and done in a broad and vague way. It's like, here's the more truthful Bibles or stories or whatever they're supposed to be. But we'll see what happens. So, if you didn't enjoy this video, again, I am trying to reject lies, falsehoods, and moral perversion. Okay? It says that the truth will set you free. And I truly believe that. That's a principle that was in these Bibles, is that The truth will set you free if you believe the truth. So if you believe lies and falsehoods, then you're gonna believe that strong delusion, So I want the truth. I'm still a seeker of truth, but I'm going to reject moral perversion, especially sexual perversion. I'm going to reject that. But if society wants to really believe that these things are okay, that is their choice. That is their freedom. And again, if this is what I have, can you find principles of truth in here? Yes. But for me, I'm going to reject the falsehoods. I'm going to reject the bad morals. I'm going to reject the sexual perversion. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, it's okay. Like, for me, like, if you believe it, that's your choice. Go ahead, be happy about believing it. But I'm not gonna believe it and be happy about it. Like, again, I'd rather be single, never marry for all of eternity than to believe it, like, that, hey, it's okay to marry someone that you could be genetically related to. No, sorry. No. Gross. But for some reason, if you believe it's okay, that is your freedom of choice. And that's what I was taught in America, the United States of America. You have the freedom to believe whatever you want. So, if you want to believe it's okay to have sex with a girl and you're a girl, that is your freedom of choice. If you want to believe it's okay to have sex with a boy and you are a boy, that is your freedom of choice. If you want to believe that this is the true religion and that Adam and Eve were genetically related to each other and that we all come from Adam and Eve, that is your choice. If you want to believe in evolution, that we all came from the same ancestor as a monkey or an ape, that is your freedom of choice. Because that's what the United States of America was founded on, was the ability to believe what you want religiously. And until science backs up a religion scientifically, and I study the science and I understand the genetics for myself, I'm not going to just blindly be like, I believe this religion, because I need science to back it up too. True science. So, science, I believe, would support the truth. True science is going to support the truth. But that means years of going to school, learning things properly, and it could take, years and years and years. So that means starting over. That may even mean learning how to talk properly and pronounce words properly, and words and meanings of words, having the right word going with the right definition. Because, people are all over the place with defining words in today's society. And it's I'm sorry, you can't have one word pronounced the same way and have 3 different spellings. I was taught that you're supposed to be able to sound out, the spelling of the word. And it's there is 3 spellings of the word there. THERE, THEIR, and they are, as abbreviation for short, THEY, then apostrophe or whatever, RE. So it's well, which one is it? Which one is the correct pronunciation and spelling of the word there? Because I don't know. this accent or language of English is confusing. And everyone's like, it's okay. You're speaking properly. You don't need to learn everything all over again. I'm sorry, I think that's a falsehood. And if there is a true heaven, I don't picture a heaven where there's sexual immorality, where there's any immorality whatsoever in heaven. And I don't picture a heaven where you continue to pronounce everything the wrong way. So, like, to me, in the preparation, if there is such a thing as going to heaven, don't you think if there is a Lord or God, that they would like provide the proper language and accent where it's like, here, learn how to pronounce everything properly so you can be prepared how to speak in a moral, proper way when you get to heaven. And that has not been provided in any language or any accent. So, like, I'm sorry, I don't believe that the Lord is just going to supernaturally be like, okay, you're healed in a twinkling of an eye, and you can talk properly all of a sudden when you never learned or were never taught how to talk properly from the start of being born. I think you have to learn it before you get to heaven, because there are principles in here of like learning to become righteous, learning to become good, learning to become holy. Well, you need a proper language or accent that's going to teach you how to do that. And it's not automatically learned. And success is not automatically learned. And I've never been able to be successful. So, again, sorry for this very long tangent. Again, how do you make the best of this situation? Well, for me, positivity is accepting the principles of truth, wherever you find them. Okay? Comprehending it. Like, is this truly right? Is this wrong? Okay? We live in a world where it's like the good and bad could be here. So accepting way more positivity in your life, to me, means accept the good, accept the truth, accept the good, accept the truth. Reject the bad. Reject the evil. Or reject what's wrong. Accept what's right. And you have laws that you have to follow. Well, what laws bring more true happiness? If you do something and it brings guilt and sorrow and heavy weight on your shoulders, like, okay, why? What are we doing that's wrong, that's making society be so negative and not positive? You just can't say accept positivity, be more positive. You have to figure out what's going to bring more positivity and accept those things and embrace those things. So for me, that is the truth of like, okay, I'm sorry, for some reason your cells are not being healed in full. Well, at least you know there's some deep root issue that you're not fully aware of why your cells are not healing in full. So to me, that's more positive than giving someone false hope of a heaven that may never come. Because, you know, in order for heaven to come, right, doesn't everyone have to switch over at some point to, here's the truth, here's the true religion, here's the religion that has the more details, here's the religion that teaches you truly how to heal all of your cells, even if it's little by little, gradually over a long period of time. Here's this religion, here's true science that teaches you these principles. Here's microscopes so you can see your cells on a cellular level so you know if they're truly healing or not. Where is the true science? Where is the true religion? That is my question. This religion did not work for me, but however, to me there are principles of truth and light and morals in here. So am I going to reject the truthful morals? No, but there was, what's the word I'm looking for? Contradictions. Okay. I heard sermons where it's like, God created a man and a boy and a girl to be like 100% compatible for each other in the beginning. And then you have all these other stories where it just seemed like, okay, brothers and sisters, cousins married each other and it was okay. And then they're like, oh yeah, the genetics changed. But they had no scientific evidence or proof that the genetics changed. They're just like, just believe my word for it. So it's like you had people teaching you these principles like, oh yeah, God designed you to be 100% compatible to one spouse only. And then you have other people speaking tons and tons of different sermons where they're like, oh no, you can choose whoever you want to marry. You could be 70% compatible for each other, or 80% compatible for each other, or 90% compatible for each other. And it's okay to choose that percentage. And then, God will make up the difference if you chose, like, if you chose not to marry someone where you're 100% compatible, then it's okay because you can work with it and it can refine you, and you just have to work at getting along better. And so again, it doesn't really make sense. Logical sense. It's like everyone's speaking out of both sides of their mouth. They contradict each other. It's a religion that contradicts each other. Here's this principle, but then all the stories don't support the principle that they teach in a sermon. That's not a true religion. That's a false religion. So, to me, accepting 100% positivity is also accepting the hardcore truth of like, I'm sorry, wake up! Wake up! You probably have a hardcore false religion that you believe was the truth the majority of your life here on earth. Wake up, accept the truth. And so the more I dwell on these concepts, it's like, maybe this is the truth. Maybe the truth is, I just don't know enough of the details. Or someone came along and they messed with the original stories or the original Bible so much that you just have a bunch of counterfeit Bibles. Because, I heard sermons about that there's a counterfeit for everything. So many sermons about that. Satan has a counterfeit for everything. For marriage. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's a whole bunch of counterfeit Bibles too. So where's the truthful Bible? Or different volumes of the Bible? Where are the truthful volumes? So where are the Bibles that talk about how there was more than one couple created or formed at the beginning by the Creator, by the designer? and how when you marry a boy and a girl, marry and they become husband and wife, they are boy and girl only. And that no one is ever related to each other at all who becomes husband and wife. Where are those Bibles? Because those are the Bibles I want to believe in. Not ones that imply you can marry your brother or your sister or your cousin. But again, we live in the United States of America. We live in a world where this is the main religion that seems to be accepted hugely over the whole entire world as the dominant religion, unless I am wrong. So, again, where is the more truthful religion? Where are the more detailed Bibles? Because that's what matters, is the details, not the broad and vague details where you could make up the missing details and have the stories go whichever direction that you want them to go. So, positivity. Details matter because the details give you the whole picture, the whole truth, not the broad and vague details. So, again, in society, the United States of America, we have the right to believe whatever we want. But I want science to back up what the truth is. And how do you do that? I don't know, because never had proper science classes really for long periods of time. Most people do the talking. And they're like, this is what I believe in science, da-da-da. And they're just going on and on about science and science and science and this and this and that. And it's like, well, to come to your own conclusions, you must be allowed the freedom to do the science experiments for yourself and come to your own conclusions to determine what someone is saying is true or not. And that's how you get an unbiased opinion. You know, if someone's putting their opinion and pushing their opinion and their viewpoint, even on science, for science experiments, it's like, if I came to a different conclusion somehow, how am I supposed to determine whether, you know, what you said is right or what I said is right? I mean, one time I was in a science class in college, and literally the science instructor was like, here's a petri dish, and they're like, with the chalk on the board, they're like, go like this, and everyone was like, get bacteria from the water and test the bacteria from, you know, different places in the water. I was like, okay. So then you put it on the petri dish, and it was like, the teacher showed going like this, but everyone was like, scraped it over the whole thing. And so there was hardly anything that grew on mine, and they acted like I did the science experiment wrong. Well, this was your instructions, going like this in a zigzag, not going over as much as covering all of the petri dish as much as you possibly could. So it's like, but yet it was like I did the science experiment wrong. It wasn't the teacher instructing me how to do the science experiment correctly. You know? So what you tell some of your students for instructions for a science experiment, it's going to give you a different outcome. Because mine, literally, the bacteria grew in a zigzag. It did not grow over the whole thing. But I felt like, oh, I did the science experiment wrong. No, that was the teacher's instructions. And then she has the nerve to give me a B at the end of a class. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was supposed to be able to read your mind and know exactly what you meant. That you wanted me to, like, put the bacteria over every single dot of the petri dish. which was in the shape of a circle instead of a zigzag. You showed a zigzag, but yeah, I got a B in the class. Was that the reason I got a B in the class? You know, like, I was doing the homework to the best of my ability. I really thought I was going to get an A, but I got like a B. The class was more interesting than other classes I had been to, but it was like, oh, I'm going to give you a B. Why? I had never had real science classes behind me, and you're going to give me a B. Because in high school, I never got the science labs. I got the talking science classes, like, let's talk about chemistry, but we're not actually going to give you any chemistry experiments to do. Let's talk about biology, but we're not going to give you like a bunch of lab biology stuff to do. And there was never enough time to learn everything properly and thoroughly go over every chapter and understand what you're reading and actually comprehend it. It's like, let's speed through elementary school. Let's speed through high school. Let's throw you into college before you have the mental comprehension level to handle it. And so, yes, I want to get good grades. I want to be able to comprehend what I'm learning. But people were just teaching way too fast and pushing you through school way too fast. So I wonder why society is becoming stupider and stupider and dumber, because the expectations are too high for what you need to learn at the right comprehension level. So I literally need to start over from the age of 0 and learn how to talk properly. What are the proper sounds of each letter of the alphabet? Are there really more letters in the alphabet of the English language or accent, whatever it really is? So to me, yes, truth is acknowledging your limitations. How do you be positive where you don't have the ability to make these corrections? Well, if I had the freedom to go through every warehouse and every library and every building and be like, okay, where's the truthful books? Where's the stuff that give you the whole accent, the proper accent in full, for free, then I would be like, okay, now it's fair. But everyone dictates to me, okay, you need this and this and this, and this is going to give you a true education. How do I know that? Like, unless I can try everything for free, if I'm not learning how to talk properly, if I'm not picking it up thoroughly and more easily, I doubt that people are actually giving me the real truthful stuff. And yet they're going to blame me like, it's all your fault. So yes, in this video, you saw one of my names, or some of them, I don't know. I really don't care. Is it my real name? When I was a child, I heard my real name from a distance, and I haven't heard it since. And it's none of the names that I have currently right now, but people insist that those are my real names, my birth given names. But is that really true? I mean, the letters of the alphabet that were told to me and the pronunciation, they're confusing. I thought every letter was supposed to have a different sound. Again, I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on because I'm upset that people expected me to be successful in life without teaching me how to do anything properly. They weren't even willing to teach me how to speak properly with the letters that were given to me. So it's like, I'm sorry, I think everyone has a false expectation of how society is supposed to work if no one wants to talk properly and learn properly and do things properly and do good quality work. And I did my best to do everything in a way where it's like, be diligent in what you do. And instead of being rewarded for being diligent and thorough, people are like, I'm not going to pay you what you're worth. I'm not going to value you working for me and doing the best job you possibly can. And so some of my wages were stolen. And then it's like, well, the phone bill is super high. And the entertainment isn't really good. And they're charging like way a lot of money for the entertainment and your phone. And no one calls me. I don't have any real friends. And I tried to be a part of churches in the past, and and no one wants you to become a part of their team or society and have real, genuine, safe, loving relationships. And it's like, well, does it come back to that the religion is this horrible that it doesn't provide a safe environment to have healthy relationships at all? So it's like, okay, be okay being by yourself the majority of the time. Be okay with the safety level that you have. Being alone the majority of the time. Be thankful for the food that you're able to eat and the water that you're able to drink and the exercise you're able to get. And that you have shelter and clothes. But I am alone. And I do not know what the truth is, but I am still seeking the truth. I still want the truth, whatever the truth really is. But I am going to reject the lies, the falsehoods, the false doctrines. I will embrace truth only, whatever the truth really is. So, also, I do believe in the freedom of choice to believe whatever you want. I believe in the freedom of choice to have different opinions, viewpoints, perspectives, or ideas. But a lot of the times in the past, people came across, they did not value my ideas, my perspectives, my viewpoints, my opinions. But I strove to accept everyone else's opinion, viewpoint, perspective. And they couldn't have the same courtesy for me to be like, okay, she just has a different opinion, a different viewpoint. Okay, I tried really hard to become open-minded. So, for me, I have learned that, okay, other people may disagree with me. Okay, you still need to respect that person as a living being and value their life. But when I have a different viewpoint or opinion, do people still value my life and value that I have a voice? No, they want me to value their voice and their life, but they're not willing to value my voice and my life, even though my opinion or viewpoint may be different. So then I feel utterly rejected. So you may not value my life. You may not value me being able to talk at all. That is your choice. But that's why when people comment in the section below and they're basically like trying to give me advice, and it's like, I'm sorry, you don't know my whole life story. You don't know how I've struggled. You don't understand that I have sought truth my whole life, and I've sought success my whole life, and all I got was failure. And somehow you come in and you give like a paragraph sentence and you're like, this is the solution to all of your problems of what it's like every single area of my life seems 100% wrong. But they're like, that one paragraph is supposed to implement that advice when it doesn't tell you the how-to of how to be successful. It's like broad and vague advice, and they're just like, oh yeah, this is going to solve all your problems. This is the true health. You're doing something wrong. You understand something wrong. It's like, no, like, I don't think I did anything wrong. I think I was taught wrong about what real health is what I keep coming to the conclusion to. So, but it's like they give this one paragraph like, oh, this is going to fix everything in your life and you're going to be so successful. Well, unless you're willing to come in to my life face to face and shadow me and be like, okay, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, and figure out the real root issue of why, something didn't work. Like, if you give broad and vague advice, I'm probably going to reject it. Because the details matter. So I'm thankful that there are missing details. Because the details matter. Because I'm missing details of how to be fully healthy. I'm missing details of how to heal my cells in full. So I don't have a scar on my foot or on my wrist or on my face anymore. I'm missing details. So I'm thankful for the missing details. I'm thankful that these are written in a broad and vague way, because if there's other Bibles that have the missing details, then they could explain why the ones on this level did not work at all for me. And that would bring more truth, more understanding. So they could be there somewhere. And again, that's why they're like, it was written in Hebrew, the Greek, and Aramaic. Maybe I have to learn those languages or those accents, whatever they really are, in order to get the missing details, right? So why don't we learn Hebrew for real, Greek for real, and Aramaic for real, so we can understand the whole full Bible that has more details? Because I'm sorry, I just can't accept a society where it's like, oh, the details don't matter. The details of the how to efficiently run a business properly, they don't matter. You can run an efficient business without learning all those details. The details of learning how to do science experiments properly and coming to a good conclusion with real science, it doesn't matter. You can just learn science by reading science only. I'm sorry. The details matter. So, is that the problem with society? That everyone has come to this conclusion. Oh yeah, the details don't matter. The details about how to run a efficient, successful government, it doesn't matter. The details about how to give everyone a fair wage, where you can pay all your bills, oh, it doesn't matter. We can just pick numbers off the top of her head and be like, and not actually do calculations. This is how much money you need to be able to rent an apartment and save for retirement and have enough money for vacation. Here's a salary, but you don't actually get a salary. We pay you by the hour. Those, details of how much money it actually takes to live on your own with your own job, they don't matter. We're just going to make up numbers off the top of her head and be like, this will magically pay all of the bills and you can live on your own. Well, the math didn't work. And so you complain to your boss about like, I need a higher wage. And they're like, no, you're being ridiculous. We're paying you the right wage. I'm sorry, you did not pay me a salary. You paid me by the hour. And paying me by the hour didn't cover all the bills required to be able to handle living in this world or this governmental system. And everyone's like, the United States of America isn't a third world country. It's probably really, the truth is it's worse than all the third world countries because they were probably able to do a bartering system and not get paid by the hour, all of them. So don't listen to the United States of America telling you falsehoods of like, oh yeah, we take care of our people. They never took care of me. They never taught me properly. It is a lie. It is a falsehood. Religiously, they didn't even take care of me. They taught me, yeah, we have the freedom of religion, but wherever you go, if you don't believe exactly what other people tell you, they would yell at you and be like, you're wrong, and make you feel bad for having a different religious opinion. So it was not a true democracy. It was everyone dictating to me what to believe intellectually, religiously, genetically, science. No one proved to me anything that they said was really true. There was no proof whatsoever. So I don't believe I live in a true democracy. So, will this video go up? I don't know. But where is the true democracy? Because I was taught in the United States of America, everyone has the right to the freedom of speech. Everyone has the right to believe what they want is the truth. Well, I need evidence of what the truth is. And people were like, no, you don't need evidence. You don't need any proof. And they just wanted me to blindly follow them, blindly believe what they told me to as the hardcore truth. But what they told me doesn't make logical sense. What they taught me doesn't make logical sense. Something's missing. There are missing pieces. There are missing details. But they're like, it doesn't matter. There's missing details in the salary of how everything adds up to make sense of like, this is how you pay all the bills. This is how you pay for everything you need to survive, to even just survive. But the details don't matter. I'm sorry. They do matter. They will always matter. However, we live in the United States of America, where if people don't want to believe that the details matter, that is their freedom of choice. At least I live in the United States of America. This is how it may work in other countries too. I don't know. Problem is, if I go to another country, if they don't speak this accent or English, I'm not going to be able to understand them, to be able to get information from them, to be like, how does your government really work? Because I speak this accent or language wrong. So it's preventing me from being able to learn another accent or language, because I tried to do French and Spanish and I can't speak any of their words at all. So if I can't pick up a second language and speak it fluently, it must mean everything is wrong. But everyone's like, oh, the details don't matter. Speaking correctly don't matter. Having a true religion, it don't matter. Comprehending what you read, it don't matter. Doing true science, it don't matter. Doing stuff yourself to prove if someone else says is actually truth, it don't matter. Just take my word for it. That's religion. That's education. That's genetics. Just trust what everyone tells you is the truth only. So, it is what it is. Be more positive. How do you be more positive when your whole environment is wrong? Accept the truth where you're able to. At least that's what I've come to the conclusion. Be thankful for what you do have. Shelter over your head. Food, water, clothes. Entertainment, books to read. Being able to sleep and not have to be awake 24/7. So, yay! Even though my life is boring, at least I'm alive. I guess that's really all I have. And being able to love myself and accept my true feelings, my true emotions, my true intellect, and the truth that I do have. So, if you disagree, that's okay. Disagree with my opinion, my viewpoint, my perspective, or ideas. That is your choice. Until next time.